What's up, everybody? I'm Mr. Man. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to take you guys through an interview I had with Stephen Blanc of Prop2, CEO of Prop2, him and his team. And the reason why I'm putting this out now, because it is very important that as this bull run continues to make its way and we see higher highs, you will want a place to park some funds once you take profit. And the reason that is because crypto will see dips again. And the reason to park profits into something such as Prop 2 and real estate is because that'll continue to generate an income for you, a passive income essentially, into fractionalized and tokenized real estate. So I'm going to take you guys through this conversation here that Stephen and I had. This is back in November, but now is the most appropriate time I feel to put this out because the bull run is in full swing and in full effect here. And for those who are looking for an exit plan still, an exit strategy, and where to park your money, once you have those funds, real estate is a solid option. Here's that conversation I had with Stephen. Hope you enjoy.
We making moves. We making major moves. We making moves. We making major moves. We going all in like we got nothing to lose. We making moves. We making major moves.
Recording now. What is up, everybody? I'm Mr. Man. Welcome back to my channel. Today with me, I have a special guest. I have Mr. Stephen Blanc, all the way from Ireland, and he's CEO, correct? CEO of Prop2, real estate company being built on the blockchain, specifically the XRP ledger itself. And I have a couple questions for him. We're going to go through these questions, and then we're just going to have an open Q&A and just kind of see where life leads at that point. I'm not a huge fan of the structure, as you guys know, other than reading documents. But when it comes to chatting it up with people, I love it. I love just the free flow and see where life goes. So, without further ado, let's just jump into this. Can you tell me a bit about yourself, Stephen? That way the people can get to know about who you are and what you are doing. Oh, Eduardo jumped in. Awesome.
Hello, Mr. Man.
Good morning. Good evening. Afternoon for you guys, I think it is.
I know you are Peter
Thank you
Parker.
very much for having us. So much appreciated.
Awesome.
So I'm Steve Blanc, so co-founder and CEO of Propto. My background is real estate, so I worked with Ireland's leading real estate firm, a company called Sherry Fitzgerald, for about 16 years. I was in a family business. We were a franchise operation. We successfully exited out of that business. And then I went in as head of residential into BidX1. BidX1 was a very successful Irish prop tech. That prop tech was initially an online auction technology provider. And we brought that in, or that company expanded, into Spain, Cyprus, South Africa, and London. Armed with what I learned there, growing that prop tech, we went and built Propto as you see it. So Propto is an alternative investment platform that will very simply allow people to buy shares, bonds, or crowdfunding opportunities in real estate, but also in other alternative asset classes, so such as impact investments, ESG offering, and private equity. So Eduardo Penavina, who's just joined us, would be a very renowned, renowned CTO. Eduardo's background was AI and cybersecurity. He's a regional smart contract developer since very early days, and he has come in from Airbus and Fraunhofer Institute. So Eduardo is my co-founder in the business, and we are supported by a world-class team. So we have Deborah Hutton, who was former head of legal at Citibank Group, EMEA. She was also a partner of Evershed Sutherland Solicitors, and she's the current chair of the Global 100, the top 100 female business leaders. We've Caroline Holton, former executive director of Goldman Sachs Asset Management Team. And we've two Neds. So Morgan Downey, the former managing director of Bank of America, and Roger Clark, the former CEO of IPSX, which is the UK real estate stock exchange. So we all came with the dream that you should be able to invest in income-producing assets, such as real estate, hence why we created Propto. And Eduardo's just joined in perfect timing.
You remember growing up, I'm not sure for you guys, but remember growing up playing video games on like your video game system itself, and you create this stacked team so that you always win. That's what it sounds like you guys have created there. Like you guys have a stacked team.
You.
Like the combined the combined experience that you guys have there for this real estate project that you're creating here. I wouldn't even call it a project. This real estate platform that you've
Right.
created. Like I'm looking forward to be able to jump into it and become an investor through it as well because
Thank you very
real
much.
estate is my one of my favorite things to be in.
Thank you. Like we came with a core ethos that we've all been in very large crypto enthusiasts for a long time. Myself specifically in the XRPL ecosystem. Others would be Ethereum or Bitcoin based, but myself specifically would have been in the Ripple backed ecosystem, and we've been in crypto long enough as spectators to know that we wanted to raise our product in the right way. So we chose to self-fund the product. What we did is we raised internally ourselves. We used our own cash flow to build our team, to get our licensing infrastructure in place and to build our product. And we didn't want to go out to market until we actually had been up and running. So thankfully we can announce that we have entered a small partnership with Ripple under the XRPL scale program. And we've also onboarded Enterprise Ireland, which is the Irish state VC. We haven't drawn down any of the money, but it is planned for next year. So, and yeah, we're very excited for what the future holds.
So, from my understanding, as an individual coming from aviation and the regulatory side of things, to be able to operate in the capacity that you do in Ireland, I understand there's specific licenses. Is that correct? Do you hold any of those licenses that are required to operate in
Yeah,
this?
yeah, I can give you a full overview. So we're Ireland's first entrant into the EU blockchain sandbox, which is an EU directive under the ECB. So we're Ireland's first entrant specific to sell fractional shares of real estate, shares and bonds. We have a full licensing umbrella in place, which includes MiFID tied agency, investment brokerage, VASP, which is under MiCAR, the new regulation in the EU. And then we've partnerships in place with regulated custodians and fiat crypto on and off ramp providers.
Pardon me, did you say MiCAR or MiCAR? Because
MiCAR.
MiCAR.
That's
Okay.
excuse my accent.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
'Cause
MiCAR.
I know MiCAR to be the regulation side of things, and MiCAR itself is actually just the guidance. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Perfect. So, how does Prop2 ensure transparency and security for users in managing their investments itself?
Yeah, so basically what we're doing is we're going to be incredibly transparent. So when we're onboarding, you'll get a full overview of who the team is, a full overview of the legal documentation, off-chain legal documentation surrounding the particular asset. And then once the asset is actually on market, the asset management and the rent or dividend collection is also on chain. So you're not waiting for weeks or months to get investor updates. You're not waiting for weeks or months to find out what rent is going to be apportioned, like in a lot of traditional investments. It's all live on chain. And I think what we could do today, if you're open for it, is Eduardo could probably give you a little bit of a demo of the platform.
Absolutely, I'm game for that. I'm sure the audience would be love to see that as well.
Thank you.
All right. One of the things I'm really heavily concerned with regulations itself. So that being said, in terms of real estate on blockchain, can you? This is going off topic here, but I have the curiosity, so I need to feed this curiosity. How does it work in terms of attestations and either self attestations and or third party attestations? How does that work for you guys? Or real estate in general, being on the blockchain, tapping into it in the EU, and how does that look? Is there a prescribed schedule of third party audits? And I ask this because in aviation we had standard self audits every month that we had to go through. Then we had an annual audit that we had to go through as an entire company. And then after our annual audit, the actual regulatory body came in to audit us as well. So we had done the larger audit, so we would be ready for when that regulatory body came to audit the work that we had done throughout the year itself, to be able to show that we're complying with what we say that we do.
Yeah, correct. So like regulation is absolutely vital. And one of the reasons we paused and we didn't go to market is we wanted to ensure that we were fully compliant. And that's a lot of what we're doing with the EU blockchain sandbox is stress testing all of that before we get out to market. But in essence, how it works is you have to be incredibly upfront about everything you're selling. Everything has to be made aware to the investor. So you need to give a full overview of the asset when you're issuing it. You need to inform them of the team, and you need to inform them of the relevant risks. So the product itself has to comply under MiFID rules, MiFID regulations, and that is enforced by the central bank of the country of issuance. So there's no way to provide unethical assets with this process. We've designed it in such a way that it's to be transparent, it's to be streamlined. What we're doing at the moment on the tech side is we're going through an internal audit and an external audit to ensure that the technology is streamlined and stringent. And then when every single asset is ready to go live, that has to be approved by our license partner before it goes up. You as an investor will have the comfort that you will know what rule and regulation it falls under, whether it's under MiFID or it's under crowdfunding regulation prospectus, and all disclaimers are given at the time. But you get a full overview of the asset, the legal team behind it, the team overviewing the asset, who the asset manager is, and the performance of that asset. If there's any slippage, unlike traditional assets or traditional pensions, if there's any slippages and people are not performing, you're aware of that as an investor in lifetime. If the rent is due on the first of the month and it doesn't come into the account, well, you know on the first of the month.
Wow, awesome. That's awesome. And I'm smiling underneath this mask. It's a shame you can't see it. But so what future enhancements or features do you plan to introduce to improve the user experience into Propto?
Yeah, of course. So our initial concept is that we're trying to bring TradFi investors onto blockchain without them having to understand crypto, having to understand what a wallet is, or having to use crypto. So we're building very much a fiat first integration. So our first go-to-market strategy is for TradFi companies who are looking to sell shares, bonds, or crowdfunding for traditional investors. In time, within the first quarter of us launching, you will be able to use crypto to buy your assets. And we're trying to make that process as seamless as possible. By the end of 2025, you're going to see us diversifying into different asset classes, such as ESG products, impact investments, and private equity.
Awesome. It sounds like you got a nice lineup ready to go.
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess my final question here before we just kind of banter back and forth here and enjoy ourselves, and also I'd love to see that demo there you have. So can anybody tokenize their property even if there's a mortgage attached to it?
No, unfortunately not. So yes, in theory, anybody can tokenize an asset, but is that what we're going to sell? No. So we're trying to give investors the opportunity to invest in safer institutional grade assets. I don't believe tokenization is there for individual properties at this moment in time. It's not our core concept. Our core concept is to allow retail investors to invest in assets they normally wouldn't be able to afford to invest in. And it is trying to democratize access to institutional grade assets. No, you have to comply with the relevant rules and regulations in the country of issuance, and it's impossible to tokenize and sell assets above and beyond the liquidity provision that's there. So you might find that there's a mortgage or debt against the property, but the loan to value rules are 60%. Well, if you've got a 70% mortgage, you can't tokenize the asset. So you can only tokenize where there's adequate liquidity to do it and safety net for the investor. That's the one thing with our platform. If there is debt on the property, that is made aware to all investors coming in.
That's awesome. I appreciate that answer. I was looking into tokenization and if it could work for, like, if there's a strategy that could work for me for my properties. And I'd come to find out if there's debt on there, like, I personally can't tokenize it because I just hold the loan from the bank itself. The property isn't technically mine. My
Correct.
name's on the title, but I don't own the property yet, so I can't go outside of the
Correct.
contract that I made with the bank or whoever that lender is to actually
Uh,
tokenize their product under my
Correct.
name. So,
You need to get bank consent if you have debt against your asset, in order to bring in any. And that's the same if you're selling on or off chain. So if you're bringing in a new investor, you always have to get bank consent. If you're selling, you have to resell it on with bank consent. And normally, not normally, but the routine is the bank gets paid first. You come secondary. So it very much is a safety net. We're not taking any risky assets. We're trying to do it as streamlined and seamless as possible.
awesome. So just falling back on what the statement you had made earlier, are you able to show us a demo of the platform itself?
We'd love to.
All right.
If Eduardo is ready, I'll hand you over to our CTO, Eduardo Penavina, who can walk you through it.
Yeah, I can show you what we have. Let's see if I share the right screen. Now, this is essentially, that's the marketplace. So the user journey is they create an account, they pass KYC, so in order to be compliant. And essentially what they see when they join the platform is the marketplace, actually. I'm in the secondary market. So this is the marketplace where they see the investment opportunities, right? So we are not talking in cryptocurrency, but we are not a cryptocurrency, although we operate on the blockchain. So we don't mention anything other than fiat here. So let's say a user, they see this opportunity. Okay, it's a shopping mall. There is this value, this expected yield. So, okay, looks interesting. They click it, and the first thing they see is a couple of pictures, but most importantly, they see who are behind this asset. So, who is the team who are in charge of making sure you will get paid your dividends at the end of the month. So, this is an example showing equity tokenization of high-value commercial real estate. We are also targeting bonds. We are also targeting crowdfunding opportunities, but the procedure is basically the same. You click the investment opportunity, you see who are behind that, and then you review the legal documentation. So in the case of high-value commercial real estate, you get things like company memorandum, tenancy schedule. You will get location, which are relevant for real estate, announcements, if there are any. And then, basically an overview with description, floor plans, and whatnot. And and some charts. I mean, all this information comes for free from the blockchain, so we can provide everything real time. But the thing is, when the user wants to buy, they click buy tokens, they input the amount of tokens they want to buy, and that's it. And they click place order. And they pay with fiat. So we take care of all the on-ramping. Technically speaking, what's happening here is we are on-ramping this fiat money into stablecoin, and then we are using this stablecoin to trade. We are going to market on the XRP ledger, and essentially what's happening here, we are matching at sell order on the XRPL DEX. But the user doesn't need to know or care about anything at all of that. So actually, we even assume they will be scared by blockchain things. So we don't mention that unless they go out of their way to settings and deep down they say, yes, I am a power user. I want to have self-custody of my tokens and all that. But by default, the tokens are held securely with our regulated partner. And that's it. Essentially, from the moment they do that, they click that, and they can see the properties they have. They also have access to real-time dashboards showing the performance of their portfolio. And then they can go to the secondary market to sell the property. No, they can view the gallery, they can view it list. So we placed a big effort on making it easy for the user, which means making it complicated for us. But the user, all they care about is to have a streamlined experience of buying these alternative assets with the same experience as online shopping. No? So you want to sell, well, you click sell, you get this pop-up saying how much you want to sell, and at what price. And you place order. And what's happening behind the scenes is we are placing the order on the XRP ledger DEX. And all that is possible because we also have a panel for the asset manager. So if we were to log in as the admin, we have access to their list of assets they are managing. Let's say the same that we clicked before. And here it's they can view the media, well, the assets, the details of the property. Now this is a real estate asset that we are tokenizing, and things like, for example, the referrals. We are also when there are transactions on the ledger, we are taking buyer fees and seller fees. And these fees, they are shared with our referrals, as traditionally happen in real estate, where we co-list with third parties with the agreement that once we sell through them or thanks to them, we share the fee with them. And that will happen for referrals bringing customers to us. This fee split will happen automatically and will happen in the primary and in the secondary market for the full life of the token, which is pretty interesting for our partners. And yeah, so essentially how it works is you are as the asset manager, you can add properties, so or companies or equity or crowdfunding opportunities. And essentially the procedure is you onboard the company, you invite all the company members, they pass KYB, they pass KYC, and we onboard the company. And essentially the rest is just streamlined. Click, 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 next. In the case of real estate, you input the property info, you upload documentation, and then you have access to the dashboard where you can also invite the whole team. Let's say, well, there are some documentation here in the data room, let's say, well, the company memorandum, which myself as the asset manager, I don't have it. But it's the legal team who has it. Well, no problem. We can invite the legal team. We give them permissions, and they will get their credentials so they can help me flesh out the data room. And that's pretty much how it works. So we have this interface also for the asset manager, where they can see also the list of token holders, of the staff member. They get it's a CRM essentially for asset management with all the compliance constraints. So they need to have access to the AML documentation of the company owners, of each token holder. They need to see information about all the past transactions. And this is essentially the asset manager view. And the first thing that I show you is the user, the investor view. And I think that's pretty much all. Is there anything that I missed, Stephen?
No, it's a good overview.
No,
the one part we didn't mention was obviously there is a utility token in the back end. Eduardo has worked incredibly hard to hide as much of the Web3 offering as possible, because our core concept here is we're trying to bring TradFi onto blockchain without them knowing that they're here. So we're very excited. Once we're able to get the product off the ground, there will be liquidity provision, there will be DeFi opportunities, there will be traditional Web3 plays coming in the future. But our initial core offering is to get TradFi into Web3 and give them a user experience that they're used to, not that scares them away or causes them difficulty.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that was going to be my question about DeFi at that point with a liquidity token. So you answered that. I'm appreciative that you're ahead of my thoughts there. I do have two questions. One of them has to do with different jurisdictions regarding taxes. So I'm out here in Canada. You guys are there in Ireland. I've seen on the website there are some properties out in Ireland. So for me to want to purchase these properties now, the tax provisions at this point, is it just standard, the typical way that you'd purchase real estate, and you have all the forms needed or required to be able to file in country of landing for myself here in Canada, or does it operate differently?
It'll actually depend on each area of issuance. So every issuance is slightly different. But for argument's sake, if we're offering a listing in an Irish company, chances are your tax liability will be here and you're going to have to report in your own country. We will give you the dashboard and the reporting infrastructure to make that easy for you to do, but you may have dual tax requirements. In most instances, it'll be streamlined, and in some cases, a lot more efficient to buy shares in the company than it would be to buy the individual real estate. What a lot of people aren't aware of is capital gains tax. They aren't aware of stamp duty rates on acquisition, and this can be a lot more efficient. So you can buy these type of products in your pension, so a self-administered pension, for example, if you're European, and if it's a regulated product, you would pay no tax until you withdraw that in your pension or in your retirement. So it's quite tax incentivized. Same with your acquisition. If you're buying company shares, it's normally at 1% stamp duty rate, whereas commercial real estate is 7.5%. So it can be quite efficient to buy it in this manner. So we're trying our best to make it as streamlined as possible. We can't comply with every single country in the world on day one, but certainly for our initial offerings, it's going to be very streamlined and simple.
I mean, as a real estate investor, to me, it sounds pretty straightforward already. And it sounds easier because I have like literally to the left of me, I have this filing cabinet of all the properties I purchased and these thick files, you know, to be able to purchase property somewhere else in the world, not have those files. It'll just be, you know, an instance.
All on blockchain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's saved on blockchain.
That's usually what Eduardo is doing. So investors everything we do, it will be recorded on chain. So from the initial onboarding, all the legal documentation to onboard it will be hashed on chain. When you open and review a document and you accept terms and conditions, that's hashed on chain. So the entire life cycle, from the asset management, the voting, the property management, the dividend payments, now you have a full digital record of that entire property. So if you own 100% of it, you buy it all out over time and you own 100% of it, and you choose, do you know what, I'm now not going to sell it on chain, but I'm going to sell it traditionally. I'm going to pass it on to my kids, whatever that might be. You now have a digital record of that property in tandem with your physical record. I think you might be muted.
Oh, can you hear me now?
We're back.
Okay, there we go. Okay, yeah. So my question was to Eduardo. You were talking about a monthly dividend, I believe the word was that you had stated there. Is there any intent to, I guess, increase that velocity as opposed to monthly and tap into the blockchain here now, or to make it like something like a daily, minutely, secondly, so you can maybe see the income coming in itself, because that can technically now exist? Is there any intent to increase that, or are you going to stick to the traditional rails or the traditional outlook of it?
Yeah, I mean, before Steven answers this question, because it's more business and regulation rather than technical, yes, technically there's nothing preventing paying immediate dividends every second, but now, Steven, you can continue that.
Yeah, no, it'll be asset specific. So you might find that there's, say, a perpetual bond. And in that case, there's no reason why that couldn't be daily. But I think for real estate, it's going to be in line with tenancy schedules. So in theory, most mixed-use commercial properties might be operating on a month in arrears or months in advance. So it may not be feasible to make those daily payments unless there's a gap or pause in payment. So it'll be product specific, but the technology is there to allow us to do it. So if there's a retail seller that wants to offer a daily rate, absolutely no problem in providing it. But I would envision that most real estate will fall as traditional.
Okay. And I guess as you were speaking too, this question formulated in my head, and I hope, so anyways, in regards to, so say I wanted to purchase a property here, not just myself, but I wanted to syndicate a property. And for the listeners who are out there who are not familiar with that term, syndication, it's just not myself purchasing a property. It could be myself, Steven, and Eduardo coming together to create an entity to purchase this property at this point now. So then that way I'm not dipping too far into my liquidity. It goes even further at this point. Will that exist? Is there a way to provide syndications? Is that something that can come? Okay.
Yeah, there is. So it's built to allow for that syndication or crowdfunding. And in Europe, that's actually a regulated industry. So it falls under the crowdfunding prospectus or crowdfunding regulation. And again, that's fully allowed for in terms of both the technology and in Europe, the regulation. So you could set up an SPV where you could crowdfund in to acquire particular assets. You create a mini prospectus document outlining exactly what your project or issuance might be. If it's a private fund, it can be done very quickly. If it's a public offering, it takes a little bit of time, but it's very easily done. That's crowdfunding is a little bit more streamlined and easier than, say, an equity or bond approach.
That's awesome, man. I'm excited already. I'm excited. I've kind of pulled back at looking at real estate here in Canada because it's quite undesirable in certain jurisdictions. But to hear something like this, like I'm very excited. My appetite is definitely whet for this here.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Behind the scenes, the other day, you and I were having a conversation, and you had some news. Is that something we can discuss, or not something we can discuss?
Not yet, unfortunately.
Okay.
I hope in end of quarter one, start of quarter two.
Okay.
Sorry.
Very exciting, very exciting. I'm actually out of questions right now. I don't have any further questions here. I'm very appreciative for this conversation that we've had here today, and the opportunity to meet Eduardo, to see your, I guess, the portion of the team here.
My pleasure.
Yeah, so thank you guys here for coming to stop in and taking your time to, I guess, drop some knowledge and information about your project, where you are now, where your intentions are to go with Prop2 here being built on the XRP ledger itself. I'm so excited for that. I'm not gonna say that's the biggest thing. That's one of the bigger notions that has me excited, but just the fact that there's real estate that we can tap into on the XRP ledger itself has me very excited, as it reduces the fees that we are required to pay, and in terms of the transactions to have that finalized is like, it's immediate, and I'm so excited for this. I'm looking forward to be an early investor as soon as I can be, actually. So with that being said, was there any final statements you guys would like to make, as well as how can people find you guys? Are you on X? Are you on YouTube? Are you in other places? Please put that out there so the listeners can get a hold of you.
Oh, thank you very much. So really appreciate the opportunity to chat with yourself and your followers. We are new to Web3, so please check us out as propto.com, propto.com. At Reclosure Dex on Twitter, and at Propto on LinkedIn. We would sincerely appreciate any likes, shares, follows that you can give to us. Do try and subscribe to our newsletter. Do follow our news channels, as we're hoping we can make an announcement regarding our utility token launch in Q1, and hopefully the end of Q1, start of Q2 for our pilot launch program. I think it might use.
Okay, yeah, you were talking about your newsletter. Where is it that we can find that newsletter? Is that on Twitter as well?
That's on propto.com.
Okay, thank you. That one went over my head when it came out there. So thank you so much, guys. I do appreciate your time. Hang out afterwards. I want to chat with you guys after this when we stop recording here. But thank you for your time, you guys. I do hope you all that listening have found value in this one, and I'll catch you on the next one.
We making moves. We making major moves. We making moves.